pay for those expensive bills. And then I guess you've got what I talked about before, the potential for the one-and-done tourists who come and try it out and maybe don't love it. Not the facility. I mean, don't love the sport. Don't love snowboarding. Don't love skiing. Have you both tried? You said you tried snowboarding?
I tried it once. That's not fun.
Why did you quit so quick?
Because I fall all the time. And it comes back with a lot of bruises on my body. Even in the natural environment, it's a bit. Like when it comes to, indoor snow skiing resorts, I think I heard a lot of people you are skiing, but you don't get to see the natural scenery, the mountains, the trees.
That's being picky, isn't it? If you can be downtown in a tropical environment and ski or snowboard. Big business. It is very, very big business, and those numbers might seem a little bit surprising that the indoor facilities contribute so much on a picture, but it just shows that
Join us for a thrilling ride into the Chinese New Year as we embrace the spirit of the horse. Rediscover timeless wisdom in stories like Warrior discerns a noble steed.
Warrior jumps off his horse and, overwhelmed with emotions, grasps the saddle and cries.
Tianji's horse racing.
Race straight up. Tianji would lose every single race. Game over.
And reconnect with the famous silent white dragon horse from the epic classic Journey to the West.
One day, a monk from the Tang Dynasty will arrive.
How dare you eat my horse?
A fierce battle followed.
So much more than old folk tales, these stories teach us lessons of vision, resilience, and strategy in an uncertain world. Settle up and gallop with us into the year of the horse.
Hey there, global listeners. Get ready for the hottest discussions on the airwaves. Roundtable, your passport to the heart of China's buzzing society. Pressing issues, lifestyle trends, and impactful policies, we're tackling them head on with wit, wisdom, and a whole lot of fun. Discover the real China through the eyes and voices of its people. Gain a unique global perspective on topics that resonate universally. Tune in and turn up the excitement dive on Roundtable as we bridge gaps and break barriers one discussion at a time. Don't just listen, be transformed.
Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
You're listening to Roundtable. I'm Steve, today with Ding Hung and Fei Fei. Coming up, sometimes our stories link together naturally, and sometimes they do not. And when they do not, it's our job to find that hidden thread. That's exactly what the Full Circle is about, and it's on the way. After that, the classic bathhouse is gone. In its place, a 24-hour mega complex that isn't just for bathing. These places are where you go to work in a quiet pod, or eat a high-end meal, or watch a movie, and essentially live for a day without ever checking into a hotel. They've shattered the idea of what a relaxation space can be, capturing something modern life desperately craves: efficient, all-in-one escape. Our podcast listeners can find us at Roundtable China on Apple Podcasts, and don't forget that we love hearing your voice too. So send your voice notes our way. Here's how you do it: roundtablepodcast at qq.com. Once again, roundtablepodcast at qq.com. And now,
3 stories, 1 connection. This is the Full Circle.
It is time for the Full Circle, and in this segment, we look back at 3 stories from our previous episodes of Roundtable this week, and we do draw a single, perhaps surprising connection between them, and to make it fun and to make it a genuine puzzle, on purpose, we deliberately pick 3 stories that seemingly have nothing to do with one another. That's kind of the point. And Fei-Fei's on it this week. What stories did you choose?
Yes, Steve. So first of all, from Monday, we talked about elderly gamers.
Now in China, people in their 60s and 70s are forming real esports teams. They're training seriously. They're entering competitions, and they're turning gaming into a new way of aging with purpose. Yeah, this was a nice kind of revelation that we think of gamers as people in their 20s, teenagers, maybe 30s, maybe, but definitely not in their 60s or 70s, that is for sure. But we learned that stereotype is being broken.
And also, gaming is becoming their not only source of income, but a source of social connections, achievements, and they are bonding with each other, not only bonding within their own groups, but bonding with across generations, with the young people as well.
Yeah, and they're beating the young people too. Ting-Hung, are you a gamer?
No, not really, but to me it's really eye-opening to say the least.
Yeah,
and
well,
it's really, fascinating to think about this very fact that some elderly people becoming so enthusiastic and really becoming a kind of an expert in playing esports. My takeaway is that it's fantastic if your life philosophy is about seeking new experiences and seeking new possibilities.
Well, if you're not a gamer yet, you've got plenty of years left, apparently, from what we learned from that story. What's your next one, Faith?
Next is from Wednesday. We talked about a highly innovative way to deliver medical care. Yeah, so first of all, the approval comes from Shanghai that recently the Municipal Health Commission officially issued a piloting license to ENT, which is ear, nose, and throat hospital at Fudan University, to operate an airplane hospital.
It was the C909, right?
Yeah,
that was the airplane. They built an entire operating room within the plane itself. And it's not about flying 25,000 feet in the air and performing surgeries, which is what I thought was happening originally. It's about flying to the location, the remote areas where the hospitals there may not have those services available, bringing those services, those opportunities to the citizens of that region.
Yeah, they're equipped with a lot of advanced equipment, including a 5G telemedicine. So it also allows like online consultations for patients in that location with, for example, a doctor in Shanghai, which is really, really cool. And sort of leveling the field for people when it comes to the access to medical care.
Which is maybe the most important point that this is all about.
Yeah, so I guess if you think about, say, China's next 5-year plan for 2026 to 2030, I think really a focal point is to working hard to increase the accessibility and availability of quality public services, including medical services in rural areas, in remote areas. Now that we have this innovative license, the airborne hospital, I think it is really providing a new channel for the work in that regard.
We are getting much closer, that's for sure. And your final story was also from Wednesday?
Yes, it is. We talked about Poland tomatoes. As we sit here in 2026, China is leading a biotech charge to hack into tomatoes' DNA and restore its soul. And it's not only with tomatoes.
Ding-Hung, are you happy with the flavor of tomatoes these days? Yes or no?
No. Frankly speaking, I am not really a fan of tomatoes precisely because of this lack of flavor in modern tomatoes. I feel like there is a lack of experience, good experience, and a meaning when eating tomatoes without flavors.
Yeah.
Well, we learned about it. Scientists have hacked the tomato code. So those tasty yet durable tomatoes are coming to our supermarkets, hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah, so that the grandma taste that we learned, that juicy, sweet, exploded in your mouth of eating a very fresh tomato is coming on the shelf very soon, hopefully.
Oh, so thanks to the Chinese scientists' endeavors and efforts, probably in the near future I will consider including more tomatoes in my daily recipe.
Yes, exactly. Give them another shot. All right, so what do we have here? We have seniors who are playing games, not just playing games, they're being very competitive at these esports. We have airplanes now equipped with emergency rooms of sorts, bringing top medical care and surgeries to places that they couldn't bring them before. And we have disappointing tasting tomatoes, for now. All right, those are the three stories. Now, they don't seem to have any connection with each other, but Feifei's on the job. Let's get to the full circle.
Yes, like Steve said, at the first glance, these three stories seem to have nothing in common, but actually look deeper, they're all asking the same question. What if our perceived limits aren't real? For example, when it comes to gaming, the mental limitations placed on us by society tell us competitive gaming is for the young that focus and skill have experience in date, and the seniors dominating in esports, so not just winning, they're proving that when you remove these self-limiting beliefs, you discover an entirely new arena for competition and community, and this is the triumph of potential over prejudice. And then second, healthcare. Here the struggle is against a physical limitation. We've accepted that top-tier medicine is anchored to major cities. But when doctors and engineers remove the physical limits of the hospital building and bring the surgical suite directly to distant towns, they're not just delivering care, they're rewriting the entire geography of hope and healing. This is the power of making the impossible portable. And third, our food. For decades, scientists and farmers thought they faced a fixed trade-off, a biological limitation. You could have flavor, or you could have a tomato that shapes well and feeds millions. But by refusing to accept that binary choice, by going back to the genetic blueprint, they're now reclaiming both, proving that richness and resilience can, in fact, grow on the same vine. This is the taste of challenging a false dilemma. So this week's Full Circle isn't just about surprising news, it's a blueprint for progress. Where is age, distance, or a genetic trade-off, the most exciting breakthroughs begin the same way, by looking at a so-called fixed limit and deciding it's not a wall, but a door waiting to be opened. The real story is what happens on the other side to reimagine our limits.
Well put together. So reimagining our limits. So for the elderly, their limit, no, you can't play esports. Your limit has already passed. Your age limit has already passed. For the doctors, yeah, sorry, we can't get the surgeries to you because of the geographical limitations. Our hospital is here and you are way over there. And for the tomatoes, sorry, if you want them in the supermarket in good condition, this is how they're going to taste. We have limitations. But in all three scenarios, yeah, they pushed the limitations there.
A little bit further. And so this is really the reason why I try to phrase the limit not as a wall, but as a door. It's not about telling you to stop. Okay, this is the place you need to stop. But maybe this is the time that you can pause a little bit and ask the question, can I open that door? What's behind that?
Is this door locked, or is it not? Yeah, I was thinking about this too, and I love that concept of, when we reach our own limits, maybe that's just a door that needs to be opened, and then what did you say? The answer is on the other side.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about society as a whole, like human beings as a whole. And it struck me that when we want to progress as a society or as a species for like tech or science or industry, then we're very, very good at opening those doors and walking through and seeing what's on the other side. That's why we can go to outer space and have a space exploration these days, for example. But what about when it comes, this is what I was thinking, what about when it comes to our own lives, our own, like, personal paths? Do we still try to push the limits or push the boundaries, especially when we compare ourselves to society as a whole? I think we don't necessarily do that very often. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I partially agree because this phenomenon that you raised, Steve, I think it is sometimes because people are quite preoccupied with external missions or their social responsibilities, their societal role, their family role. So, which means the time and space is quite limited, often limited for them to explore themselves, the inners, the inner part of themselves.
The limits of time.
So, yeah, and another aspect is probably, whether you like it or not, individuals are often, self-interested, so we're willing to challenge external limits, because doing so might, as a society, doing so policy-wise, etc., might bring us long-term benefits. But when it comes to individual matters, challenging our own limits sometimes means a new way of life, a new way of doing things, and we are not so sure that a new way is necessarily the better way. This is especially true for people with established career, established wealth, established family. Trying something new might mean giving up your existing belongings.
Because change is scary.
Yeah. So I agree, we need to look at the end game of this, try to challenge this limits. When we're challenging the limits of the outside world, reaching a new world record, going to outer space, the end game is what comes after of that achievement is power, is fame, is money. So that's why there are people who always want to do this challenge. But when it comes to challenging your personal life, for example, in marriage, in job, especially in personal life, in marriage or relationships, or your lifestyle, the results may not be that positive. That even though you try to make a small change in your lifestyle and in your relationships, that can mean a lot of pressure and burdens, and also maybe, people just discussing you behind your back, and that kind of social pressure. And that just
social limitation.
Yes, so that seems like a much more difficult decision to make compared to, making a breakthrough technologically or in sports. It's just different.
Nobody's going to challenge. Nobody's going to challenge what you're trying to do differently. You mean?
Yeah, I mean.
Everybody's on the same page.
If you go to outer space, people will praise you as one of the bravest astronauts in the world. If you are saying to the world, you know what, I'm going to have my own marriage pattern, people will question you. What's your problem?
They will be judgmental.
Yeah, so if you step outside the lines of what's expected, people think you're weird. I mean, I kind of did that myself. I moved to Asia when I was 23 years old, and this is where cultures are the same between Canada and China. Society expects you to finish high school, go to university or some form of higher education, finish that, get a job, get a relationship, and continue on with your career until you retire, get a hobby, and die. And that's the concept of life from the beginning to the end. And you kind of live in the same spot. And I chose to move away, not because I was very disheartened with how Canadians live or anything like that. I'll tell you why I moved. One day, this is when I was working for here. So it had nothing to do with Canada. It just had something to do with what I wanted for myself. And definitely people looked at me and said to me like, Going where? Why? What are you doing? Yeah, and they thought I'd be home a year later, and that's what I thought too, but
You never know.
you never know. But I think there's something to be said for pushing the limits, right? And those are three great examples of great things that can come from pushing limitations. Feifei, you did a nice job connecting the dots today. Any final thoughts from you?
Here is my final point. Limits exist until someone reimagines what's possible. And often those limits quietly settle into our routine. They shape what we expect of ourselves, of others, and of the world around us. We learn to accept them without much resistance. And the age means slowing down. That sophisticated care has to be far away. And there's some losses of the taste, of the quality, of the connection, or simply the cost of it. So we compromise, because it feels like a small price to pay. But if we pause and really think about it, maybe there shouldn't be a price to pay at all. Sometimes change doesn't need to be loud or radical. Just a small shift, a tiny twist in a gene, a modest redesign of an existing airplane, a willingness to try a game you've never played before. And in that moment, the limit doesn't disappear. It softens. It turns from a rule into a question. And quietly, that is how change begins.
You're listening to Roundtable, and coming up next, this ain't your grandma's bathhouse.
Looking for passion? How about fiery debate? Want to hear about current events in China from different perspectives? Then tune in to Roundtable. East meets West, and understanding is the goal.
You're listening to Roundtable. I'm Steve, today with Ding Hung and Feifei. In the past, bath centers were merely functional spaces for a quick soak and a quick scrub. But today's modern version, OMG, they are not the same as they used to be. They've evolved into sophisticated 24-hour mega complexes that function as all-in-one lifestyle hubs. Unlike the traditional bath houses, these new places integrate high-end dining, movie theaters, streaming capsules, for the modern consumer. It does indeed break the traditional boundaries of space and time, and they've captured very well, I think, the emotional value and the relaxation side of things in today's economy that standardized hotels can often lack, depending, of course, on where you're staying. What does the traditional, before we get to the new ones, tell us about, in China, the traditional bathhouses, what those look like.
Well, they are, they were primarily dedicated to mainly bath services, and they are cheap too. Their processes basically followed a kind of unwritten script: soak, steam, scrub, rinse. And then they have certain social functions. They can be doubled as a kind of community living room, like guys chatted about everything from family to their work to their businesses while soaking. Women soaked, they did face masks and swapped certain neighborhoods or work units, gossip, etc., etc. So it's a very local, community-centered spending culture.
A place to hang out, a place to chat while you're in the tub with your friends, while you're gossiping with each other on the previous week's happenings or things like that.
Yeah, in the northern part in particular, these bathhouses or the community center, I would say,
Right.
on some level.
Yep.
I remember some of the best gossip that I've heard as a child happening in these bathhouses between my mother with her friends, and as they bathe, scrub, and we were playing as well in the tub with other children, and they're talking about the gossip next door, or what's happening in their workplace, just a very relaxing experience.
That's the old.
The interior drastically different. In the past, it's just simply, tiled walls and floors, and there is a shower head, there is a tub, and there is a bed for you to get scrubbing. But now, it looks like a big commercial complex with a lot of services. They're on a scale, they're polished, they have high ceilings, dramatic lighting, different styles of interior design, and even they have this very luxurious hotel lobby design.
These places, I mean, when we use the word luxury to describe these places, please believe these places look like high-end day spas that you'd find at a 5 or 6-star hotel. They are gorgeous. The pools are gorgeous. They have little mini gazebos attached to the pool. You just step out of the pool right into your little luxury pillowy spot to relax. I mean, this is stuff you'd find at the nicest of hotels. Then you leave the spa area, and you go out and there's like a fruit buffet or a high-end buffet that you'd expect to find at a hotel. They've got the game rooms they've got PlayStations. The one I watched had TVs lined up with all PlayStations there and nice comfy chairs. The screaming room I mentioned, I think it was called the venting room. They have, what do you call them, kick bags that you find in a boxing gym. You go in there, it's a soundproof room, they give you boxing gloves, and then you just beat that bag and scream and shout, and nobody else can hear you.
And after you sweat, you just go back to the spa, relax a little bit more.
Take a shower, and then when you're ready, they've got the sleeping pods that are private, and you can get some snacks, and it's just, you can spend a whole 24 hours there.
So instead of paying just to take a shower or bathing, I guess you are actually buying time, right? One ticket, a few hundred yuan, etc., covers 12 hours or even longer. And then if you want to stay there overnight, just a small amount of extra money, extra fee will suffice. So I guess for many young people, young consumers, that really makes it cheaper and more fun than booking a hotel, right?
Yeah, on some level, well, when it comes to these luxurious bathhouses, their prices are like from either 200 or 300 yuan to 500 yuan plus some of the extra charges when it comes to services like overnight stay, or different game rooms and so on and so forth.
Hundreds of dollars that you might spend if you go to a hotel that doesn't have all of those extra services, then it's much, much cheaper.
Yeah, and also you don't have a game room, you don't have a screening room, you don't have a movie room, and the price is on some level pretty much the same, and even in some cities, the hotel accommodation fees can be much, much more expensive. So from my point of view, that these bathhouses, they're not just selling, get yourself clean. It's more about comfort, emotional, and it sells time, not like a bed. Because if we went to a hotel, we're thinking about, we're really buying a bed, a place for you to stay at night. But when it comes to these bathhouses, you get more than one bed. You get different services, you get different buffets even, and that just seems a more economical decision.
Yeah, and the industry is huge, and there's been steady growth over the past 4 years or so. And the younger age group is accounting for the majority of the total amount of customers. This is from Meituan data. Users aged 18 to 35 now account for 58% of the total, and those between 24 and 30 years old make up the core spending group. And I agree. You go to a hotel and you're basically paying for, I know, hotels have other services as well, but you're essentially paying a lot of money for a place to sleep. These bathhouses, these luxury bathhouses, are far more affordable, and they do offer many more services. But yet, this is where I'm wondering if there's any comparison, or whether these two industries are existing separate from each other. The places to sleep in the bathhouses, you don't go into a private luxury room, from what I've seen. I've not visited them, but I've watched a bunch of videos, and they're like private pods, but they're not private rooms. So I don't know if it's fair to compare these two industries or not.
Well, I think there is definitely overlaps because no matter the reason you travel to a different place, you either for leisure or for business, you need to book some place to stay. And bathhouse can be one if you travel for leisure. But if you travel for business, of course, you won't be staying in the bathhouse.
如有一个人是对黄金水大大，另一个可
Vice Foreign Minister Niall Jayu has met with his Iranian counterpart and expressed support for Iran's efforts in defending its sovereignty and legitimate interests. Niall said China opposes unilateral bullying and applying pressure by force and stands against interference in other countries' internal affairs. He said China is ready to strengthen communication with all countries to safeguard international fairness and justice. The Iranian diplomat stressed that Tehran is against threats and appreciates China's efforts in maintaining peace and stability. Chinese authorities have issued a plan to promote agricultural modernization and rural revitalization. The plan calls for ensuring stable production of grains and edible oil, modernizing the livestock sector, and developing a diversified food supply system. It also outlined efforts to strengthen the development of high-standard farmland and improve international agricultural cooperation. The plan pledged measures to promote a green transition in agriculture and accelerate improvements in modern living conditions in rural areas. Hainan province is set to open the first 5 daily consumer goods duty-free shops for island residents on Wednesday. Provincial Information Office said will be in Haikou, Sani, and Danzhou during the phased rollout and gradual expansion. The move followed China's introduction of a zero-tariff policy on certain imported goods for residents in the Hainan Free Trade Port. The policy aims to enable residents to directly benefit from the island's opening up. U.S. and Iranian delegations have begun nuclear talks in Oman. Iran insists that the talks be limited to nuclear issues and the removal of U.S. sanctions, but the White House said President Donald Trump has been clear with his demands of Iran, including zero nuclear capability. Iran spread one of its largest advanced long-range missiles to an underground facility, while Washington has issued a new warning. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says Ukraine must be a neutral and benign state to be Russia's neighbor for the long term. Lavrov noted that Russia's made it clear to Washington that Moscow's priority in the Ukrainian settlement is not territory but the people. He said the fragments of Ukraine's peace plan that Russia saw did not mention restoring the rights of ethnic Russians and other national minorities. Russia and Ukraine concluded the second round of U.S.-directed talks in Abu Dhabi to a large-scale prisoner exchange with those who Logistics and Purchasing shows that Global Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index rose to 51 in January, up 1.5 points from the previous month. That ended a 10-month streak below the 50 mark, which separates expansion from contraction. Regionally, Africa's PMI fell to 49.6, while Europe's rose to 50. Asia's PMI showed little fluctuation compared to the previous month, remaining at around 51. Meanwhile, the Americas PMI climbed above 51. The European Central Bank has decided to leave key interest rates unchanged, marking the fifth consecutive hold since July. The deposit facility rate, the primary tool used by the ECB to steer monetary policy, remains